And I was in another country where many of the Mandaeans had fled, and one of the high priests asked to meet with me while we were in this country. And of course I said yes, and he brought with him a scroll that he says is over 6,000 years old. And it was written in Aramaic, which is interesting to me because Aramaic was the language of Jesus, and we're not sure when it actually began. But what was interesting about this scroll, in our biblical traditions, the creation of humankind happens in a couple of sentences in the book of Genesis, because we've got the Reader's Digest condensed version, and a lot of things we know were edited out. In other traditions, such as the Mandaeans, they are in scrolls, so there is column after column, paragraph after paragraph of information describing the creation of the human body first, and how the powers that be then tried to put the soul into the body, suggesting that our soul is in fact separate and comes from somewhere else. And what makes it so interesting is that the first few iterations of humankind could not hold the power of the soul or the spark or the light of God from this higher dimension. And it was only when they perfected the genetic recipe for the bodies that we have now that they could get the soul. And it always says when they created the body of Adam. It's not when he created the body of Adam. When they, indicating that there were multiple people created, or multiple beings, created the body of Adam, they could not get the soul into the body of Adam at first. So into the male body of Adam, they placed the feminine soul from a higher state space, a higher dimension is the way we could interpret this. And it was the marriage of the physical body with the feminine soul that gave Adam his animation and allowed him to become the man that he was, and that either metaphorically or in reality, this is the story that tells us that our bodies and our souls, while they share time together and are merged in this moment, that they are actually separate entities. And when we talk about life and death, here again we find in at least a 6,000-year-old tradition that there's something inside of us that's not from around here, that comes from somewhere else. And we begin to think about our universe and our lives as a simulation. It's saying essentially the same thing, that we're projecting or experiencing through this physical body to find out something here about ourselves in this world that apparently we cannot experience in heaven or in these other worlds. And in these texts, they are what we would call plays of morality. If you live in the 8th dimension and you wake up every morning in the 8th dimension and all there is light, it's easy to live in the light. But if you wake up in this 3rd dimensional world and you've got choices of light and dark and good and bad and right and wrong and males and females and all the things that go with that, then you have to choose. And that's where it gets really interesting. So this is, again, this is the value of going back into some of these ancient traditions, because they had a language that was intact, that describes our universe and who we are in a way that our science is only now beginning to understand.